All right, the men in Britain are going to be in real trouble soon. There's hundreds of protesters gather in London in the wake of Sarah Everard's death. And this segment is going to leave something out very vital, is that the police got involved because of COVID. These people should not be gathering in large packs like this because they don't want to spread the virus. And this segment will not mention any of this. I guarantee you that. Look at these. Boys will be boys held accountable. See, they're making this this one woman that is very rare to get murdered, got murdered, and a guy happened to do it. And so they're trying to make it about sex and gender. And this is very rare. Girls just want to have fun, the mental rights. See, this has nothing to do with this. Murder is always going to exist, just like thievery. So it's just being used to attack the average man on the street. So look at all these dumb asshole men here. That's what they are. Any man who joins this protest deserves everything he gets.
They lay down outside police headquarters and marched up towards number 10. The messages in the crowd were mixed, but yet again, there were protests on the streets.
Of course they're mixed because this has nothing to do with this woman's murder. This is just to attack men in general. So that's why they're mixed.
Where many women do not feel safe.
This is a lie. Anyone making a video on these has to come right out and say this is a lie. These women feel totally secure in what they're doing. Here they all are. If they didn't feel secure, they wouldn't be here.
We deserve equality. We deserve safety. And this is what we're here to.
This has nothing to do with quality either. Actually, if anything, it should be about quality because the police treat men way worse than women. And notice this woman isn't even wearing a mask.
Fight for. We should have the right to our equal rights. And the fact that they tried to get us not to protest is disgusting.
Do you feel this?
No. What a simpleton. No, not simple. What a selfish little person. The world is trying to stop a virus from spreading. These women should be hauled away to jail where they belong.
This is still about Sarah Everard.
Yes, it did start out with Sarah, but it's so much more.
No, it started. Nothing started with her. She simply got murdered, like people occasionally get murdered. They're making it more. They're trying to say that these low-life guys who we see on the street, in other words, these average guys, these low-status men, we can't stand them, and we want them out of sight and out of mind. That's why they talked about putting in a curfew for men.
There's so much more.
Not least of all, the power to protest outside Parliament at all. As inside...
I got news for you. The virus does not care. Take a look at Parliament. Look how few people are there and how much space is in between. So these people in Parliament are definitely being limited. What makes you think the citizens outside are above these people?
The Home Secretary introduced a controversial bill, which she framed as protecting women.
Too many of us have pretended to be.
Told you. They're going to ramp it up. When I started this channel, even before, when I got involved in men's rights, I said then it was only going to get worse. Here it is getting worse.
On the phone to a friend to scare someone off. Too many of us.
This is the other thing. This isn't about fear again. Some guy was probably hitting on her or some woman she knows, and she was disgusted because he was just some guy she saw beneath her. So what they're saying is they want to be able to have police presence and point at this guy to the policeman and say, take this person away. This low status guy that disgusts me is coming on to me.
Have clutched our keys in our fists in case we need to defend ourselves. And that is not okay.
The policing bill does contain measures like stopping the early release of sexual and violent offenders.
There you go. So It's also about keeping men in jail. Guys who might have been, committed the crime, but they were punished and their sentences is up and they've been good and they want to keep them in there beyond their actual sentence.
But it's been criticised for not going far enough for women and too far in giving police powers to curb protests, setting...
It's not, the police have too much power when it comes to stopping women from doing whatever they want. And they don't have enough power to attack men at women's desire. So this is what this was about. This is the entire, making the average guy in Britain a cotton picker. Know your place, out of sight, out of mind.
Noise limits, start and finish times, and preventing protests near Parliament.
Unless there's action on homicide, unless there's action on street harassment, unless there's action on stalking, this bill will risk becoming an abuser's charter that...
Yeah, see? And you see stalking and harassment, they're very vague. And they could mean anything. How do you prove that you're not a stalker if you just happen to be waiting in the bus next to a woman? What if you happen to be looking up or down saying, oh, she has a nice body? That can be considered stalking, I guess. Maybe some woman sees you twice in the same day. So this is real trouble for men. And do you think this is going to be practiced on both sexes equally? No.
Just allows violence and injustice in our streets and in our homes to continue unchecked.
It is all some contrast to the peaceful way tributes are still being paid at Clapham Common.
And this is a disgusting farce too. These women have nothing in common with this woman who got murdered. She's a complete stranger to them. They don't care about her either. No one's sobbing tears for this woman. They just see her as a convenient stepping stone. And they also see, her as someone represented as the nobility has been attacked for a change. That's what it is. One of the nobles have been killed. So now this is an outrage. Murder is for the male peasants.
As a whole country now contemplates.
I just think that it's absolutely disgusting that we live in a society when men still do this, and that is so normalised.
Complete lie. And this guy is just nodding along. Then all news outlets are in on this. I never realized just how strong the desire for men is to just placate to the opposite sex at their own expense. Like, they're just taking this right up the posterior. This is not normalized. This woman's murder is very rare. It's very rare. We live in the safest times in the Western world in all of history, at least for the women.
You never know when you're actually going to have to make a sprint home or...
He's lying. This is just a lie. This is how you approach this. You no longer allege this is false.
In your route home, you don't know when it could escalate. So that's why we're always on our guard, because at any point it could become something so much more serious.
But Sarah Everard's image is no longer the only one in mind, after police were seen to be heavy-handed at Saturday's vigil.
Heavy-handed. This is not heavy-handed. They handcuffed this woman who doesn't belong there. Again, is this segment talking about the reasons why they stopped her? They're painting this as if they don't want women protesting this when it's all about the COVID virus. And I can't find the picture, but she was looking up at the camera like, look what these mean little police are doing to me. See, I'm being oppressed. There wasn't an ounce of fear in her face. There isn't any in this one. If this was a man, they might taser her. If it was a guy, they'd probably taser him and beat him up. If the police were smart, they would have sent out an army of female cops. And then they couldn't get away with painting this picture. But the problem is there isn't an army of female cops because, the women aren't interested in it. I wish this woman was beaten up like a guy. Then you could say, there, now you know what it is to be a man.
Today, the Prime Minister condemned their response and
they're handling these female cretins with kid gloves. Just holding her down, put some handcuffs on her, bullshit.
Today, the Prime Minister condemned their response and promised to step up a gear, visiting a bus depot this morning, but later chairing a meeting in which ministers promised new money to protect women.
In the immediate term.
There you go. You're in trouble now, guys. All this was ripe to happen. And now it's happening. And in typical male fashion, I suppose I could say I'm glad I don't live there. But this is human nature. It's going to leak over everywhere. You can't just say Britain is particularly bad. It's bad here in Canada. It's bad in the States. It's bad in any place that becomes actually safe for women. As soon as it's safe and as soon as it's easy, then this is what happens.
The Prime Minister really, really wanted to show that we are listening and that we want to act to help women feel safe in our streets, which is why this investment will...
See, guys are going to suffer injustice on the streets of England and Wales just to make women placate them. It's not make them feel safe. They already feel safe. They already feel safe. They're liars when they say they don't feel safe. Know it.
We'll go on very practical measures like increasing better lighting, more CCTV to try to give people that confidence.
Tonight's protests ended with
CCTV. Are they talking about cameras? Well, that would be working the worst way because, if some guy gets an altercation with women, they can say, "Oh, there it is. He spoke nasty to me."
men being handcuffed. It's not clear that everyone here speaks for Sarah, but a move...
No one speaks for this woman. This woman is just a stranger who got murdered the way that most men get murdered. Men get murdered occasionally. And it's just a stat. And it used to be for the girls at times too, but now the nobility is coming up and saying, nope, we're too good for this. We're too good for this. A nobleman has been killed. This is for the male peasants murderer. And that guy who got arrested, does he not realize what he's fighting for? He's fighting for the police, to be able to arrest him at any time at a woman's leisure, at a woman's say-so. I hope a guy like him suffers.
Her name continues to gain momentum.
Yup. ITV News. And again, I'll end it off. Did ITV News mention anything about the COVID virus? No. So all the news outlets, which made up of men and women, are following the imperative to give women whatever they want. And they're not going to put it in this bad light. But the reason those police officers did what they did is because you're not supposed to have a bunch of meetings, protests, big gatherings, when you're trying to defeat a deadly virus. There should have been mass arrest. And what are these two kids? So if women are so scared, why are children out here? See, this is complete bullshit. And people should be saying it's bullshit, and especially the news outlets. Thank you.